we're talking about product sourcing, there's always the option of going factory direct. That means buying it directly from whoever makes it. However, you're not always going to get the best price this way because there is a fixed wholesale price that's already determined. And especially for new merchants, for new entrepreneurs who wish to sell a sourced product, I think there is a good opportunity in going through what's called liquidators. And what that is, for instance, when a store goes out of business or they have too much inventory, oftentimes they will contact what's called a liquidator to help them take that inventory out, bundle it into larger groups, and sell them in big pieces. For instance, one time I went through a liquidator and I bought cosmetics that was from a store that had gone out of business. And I got something like 5,000 pieces of cosmetics from different brands, all of which I believe were made in the United States. And I bought it all in a bundle for, let's say, $900. So it was a really good price. It was less than $1 a piece, I think, in the long run. There's different reasons or different categorizations of what liquidators offer. The first one is shelf pulls. Shelf pulls is from a store that still exists, but they just have too much of something or something isn't selling. It may be a product that just they wish they had never gotten involved with, and now they own it, and they just want to get as much back as quickly as they can because shelf space is limited. So they call the liquidator and say, get this out of here. And the liquidator says, okay, I'll have some money for you in a week, but it's probably not going to be that much. Doesn't matter. I've already written it off in my books. Just get me what money you can. And that's a shelf pull. And oftentimes they're outdated or expired, but I think experience tells us that many times that doesn't matter. Medicine is good, for instance, for years after expiration. So is fitness supplements, but shelf pulls might also include clothing, this sort of thing. Bankrupt stock, like I said, when the store goes out of business, they just can't afford generally to stay in business anymore. Generally, this might be a higher quality of product because the store wanted to continue selling it. It's not like they gave up on this product. The store gave up on itself altogether. So you can find some pretty good things from bankrupt stock. And then the third one is factory overproduction. The factory produces too much of something. They have 10,000 yards of too much fabric, so they might as well turn that into garments too and get what they can. Because the thing about fabric is 10,000 yards may actually be cheaper than 1,000 yards, or not that much more than 1,000 yards. The more you produce, the cheaper it becomes per yard, or it takes 3.5 yards to make a suit, so it becomes cheaper this way. So they'll just go on ahead and manufacture the rest of it and sell the additional beyond what they were expecting at a discount. It sometimes seems too good to be true. Sometimes it really is just an outrageous bargain, especially if you go to liquidators that are not so popular. The most popular one is liquidation.com. Liquidation.com is all over the United States and parts of Europe, and they take goods from all these stores, and they're a giant corporation, and I think they are the biggest liquidator in the world. And they also run what's called govliquidation.com, which is excess parts from governments that the Army, for instance, doesn't want to use anymore. You can find old construction equipment, like if you're a small construction company and you need a new bulldozer or a new even crane, they will have it. It might be old and rusty, but it still works, especially if you can fiddle with the engine or you can do some work. And a tip that I heard one time, I pulled up to the warehouse of the liquidator, and there was a couple of guys out front smoking, and we got to talking while I was waiting for the manager to come out and meet me. And they said, a couple hours ago, a guy came through and he picked up 900 of these big metal gaskets that go on the end of piping, to connect it to the wall. It's a very special metal device, but it was all made of nickel or something. And he said he picked it up and he took it directly to the scrap metal dealer, because all of the auctions were seen by people who, retail level buyers. They have eBay stores or they have online stores and they want to get inventory for a good price. Well, this guy saw a scrap metal opportunity on items that nobody was bidding on. I think they were sold in units of 100 together, and he bought all 9 of them for like $100 a piece. So he got 900 of these huge metal gaskets, each one of them weighing 100 pounds or more. And he took it to the scrapyard and he got thousands and thousands of dollars for it. That's a true story. I think it happens actually more often than you might realize. So if you think it's too good to be true, just think about how business works. If you want to be a good liquidating buyer, if you want to be a good end, seller, a final seller, business to customer, some tips, and it's not necessarily necessary, especially in the age of eBay, but to get a resale certificate, especially in some states or in some cities, you might want to find out if that's necessary. You want to analyze the manifest. I can't say this enough because they will mix in garbage with the good stuff. And you want to make sure that you're getting everything that you were promised. And when it's not all there, it's an opportunity to really negotiate even better price on what you got. Understand the manifest variance. Some of the things. Oh, another category that we didn't mention is customer returns. You buy something and they return it. And where does that go? It doesn't go back on the shelves because you already opened it, you already wore it. So what it does is it goes to the liquidator, they bundle it together, but there's going to be a variation on quality. So some of it's going to be a little bit dirty, a little bit worn out. Some of it's not going to work. One time I bought a bunch of watches that had gone to the warranty provider, and they decided it wasn't worth trying to fix them. They just refunded the money on these specific number of watches. Well, I got them and I switched out the batteries in them, and some of them came right back to life, and I was able to sell them on eBay and make all my money back. And then I was able to keep something like 15 watches. And some of them just could never get them working. A nice watch, it was originally Bulova or, Armani Exchange, but you can never get it working again. It was broken. And it just came as part of this giant box of watches, not even packed any kind of way. They were just on each other. Just a big ball of metal. And you had to go through and pick out what you wanted. And it turned out to be a good deal. But it was a little bit of work to, get some of them working again. So just something to think about. You want to know all of your costs. You want to understand how much you spent per unit, especially if you have to throw some of them away. So you want to recalibrate your cost per unit of functional units. You want to, plan your logistics. How are you going to ship everything? How are you going to deliver to the customers? USPS, what packaging are you going to use? This sort of thing. You want to specialize. So maybe you focus exclusively on clothes or like watches or like cosmetics or something like this. Become good at finding the deals within your special niche, within the tide, the wave of all different kinds of products that are available to you at any given time. Expiration dates matter. You want to understand that some products' expiration dates matter a lot more. And, products go obsolete. I still, to this day, have adapters from the original iPod. I bought all kinds of accessories from the original iPod when it was very exciting. The charging docks and the power cables and the cases. Well, those cases are no longer useful. I mean, cases for iPod 2, never going to use them again. The original iPod adapter is different than the one they use now. I think they changed like 3 times. And so those are just sitting in a box somewhere in my basement. But I made my money back because of other things that were included in the bundle, and I was able to sell some of them at the time, so you gotta move on it. But there is such a thing as obsolete product. And build up slowly. Don't just go in with all the money you got and buy all the bundles you can get your hands on just because it's an exciting experience, because you gotta test how you're gonna sell it. You gotta test how receptive is the market. Personally, I think 2 ways you could almost never go wrong is shoes and jackets. You sell those 2 things, eventually you will sell them. Especially shoes. Shoes are easy to ship. Rarely do people get the shoes that are in their size and it's like, oh, they don't fit. Usually if it's a size 10 or a size 12 and they wear that, you get the shoe, it fits. So you know it's what you're getting. And Gov Liquidation sells a lot of boots from the Army. So you can go on govliquidation.com and find all-weather boots. They look like military, but there's guys who like this sort of thing. You will sell them eventually, and you can get really good prices. In my own experience, like I've said, is I've done iPod accessories, cosmetics, speakers, vacuum cleaners, watches, jackets, shoes, adapters for your car of all different sorts, auto parts. I would say the biggest loser of the group was probably wiring kits for cars because they go obsolete. I learned this the hard way. And cosmetics are extremely difficult to sell because they're small, there's all different colors, it takes forever to post about them. Don't do it. And in the notes I've included a huge list of liquidators. So the notes to this video include wholesalers from Canada, United States, Australia, UK, China, and then there's international ones. And they're different than wholesalers. You're going to get better prices from liquidators, but there's a little bit more risk involved because you're not dealing with perfect groupings oftentimes. So it's just another thing to consider. I highly recommend you look at it, especially if you're just starting out, and good luck.